Coming up on Our Indiana, we'll go over the effects Hurricane Irma had on the IU football season.
And we sit down with Teddy Bailey and Josh Margolis to discuss IU basketball recruiting.
That and more coming up on Our Indiana. Welcome to Our Indiana. I'm Alex Emoff.
And I'm Dan Black.
Our first story tonight, the IU football team had a change in plans for their game against Florida International this past Saturday due to the effects of Hurricane Irma. There was a slight change in plans for IU football this past weekend as the Hoosiers were forced to cancel Saturday's game against Florida International University due to the effects of Hurricane Irma. IU's athletic director Fred Glass was able to schedule a matchup against Charleston Southern during what was originally Indiana's bye week. Although the Hoosiers will no longer have a well-timed bye week, they will still remain eligible for postseason play thanks to the quick work done by Glass and the rest of IU's athletic department. All season ticket holders who had tickets for the FIU game will receive tickets for the Charleston Southern game. The Hoosiers will host the Buccaneers in Memorial Stadium on October 7th.
Former Indiana wide receiver and running back Camion Patrick was arrested and charged Thursday morning in connection to the July 25th stabbing of Caleb Thomas Radford. Patrick, along with his brother Isaiah Wright, were two of four suspects linked to the homicide. Patrick was arrested by Indiana University Police and is being held at the Monroe County Correctional Facility. Patrick was suspended by the university following his arrest. The East Mississippi Community College transfer played in 10 games in 2016, amassing just over 150 yards receiving with one touchdown, while rushing for 10 total yards and one touchdown.
Although Indiana volleyball did not come out top in the Hoosier Classic, there is still a lot to be happy about for the Hoosiers. After a loss to Samford, the Hoosiers turned around to defeat Florida Gulf Coast in an exciting 5-set win. Saturday's win over FGCU put the Hoosiers at 11-1 for non-conference play. This is the best start IU has had since going 12-0 in 2010. Not only did redshirt sophomore Kendall Bierman stand out and have a career-high 19 kills against FGCU, but she also earned a spot on the Hoosier Classic All-Tournament team alongside teammate Deja Lofton. The Hoosiers will kick off Big Ten play by hosting the Fighting Illini on Wednesday night at University Gym.
IU field hockey began Big Ten play Friday when they took on number 9 ranked Maryland at home. The game was scoreless until the second half when in the 47th minute, Maryland's Linnea Gonzalez scored off a backhand from a penalty corner to open up the scoring. After earning just 2 penalty corners in the first half, Maryland recorded 9 in the second half, and in the 54th minute, senior Lane Holsborough put in a rebound off corner to give Maryland a 2-0 lead. The Hoosiers battled back 7 minutes later after earning a penalty corner of their own. Senior Elle Hempt put in her second goal of the season to trim the deficit to 1. Unfortunately, Holsborough answered back for the Terps, catching the Hoosiers off guard just 25 seconds later, scoring the final goal and giving Maryland the 3-1 victory. IU bounced back Sunday at home against Ball State, but the final score does not truly represent how one-sided this game was. In the 2-1 Hoosier victory, IU outshot Ball State by a total of 26-9 and had 16 corners to Ball State's 5. Ball State freshman forward Abby Ferenzi got the Cardinals on the board first just 15 minutes into the game, but after that the Hoosiers took control. 10 minutes later, the Hoosiers took advantage of a penalty corner, and after a straight shot from sophomore Sierra Gerard, IU freshman forward Benti Buwalda from the Netherlands found the back of the net, scoring the first career collegiate goal, tying the game at 1. With less than 5 minutes remaining in the game, reigning Big Ten Offensive Player of the Week Maddie Latino put the icing on the cake, scoring her 6th goal of the season and winning it for the Hoosiers. Indiana is now 5-3 and will head to Piscataway, New Jersey to face off against the Rutgers Scarlet Knights this Friday.
IU women's soccer fell to the Michigan Wolverines Sunday afternoon in the last of 7 straight road games. In a matchup that Indiana's coach Amy Burberry deemed a really good soccer game, the Hoosiers outshot the Wolverines but ultimately lost 2-1. U of M was able to get on the board first with 2 consecutive goals in the first half, forcing the Hoosiers to respond. IU sophomore Chandra Davis put away Indiana's only goal of the day late in the first half to bring the Hoosiers back to life. Momentum slowed down in the second half as each team went scoreless with a combined 10 shots on net between both the Hoosiers and the Wolverines. IU women's soccer is now 1-1 in Big Ten play, 5-4-1 on the season. The Hoosiers will host the Purdue Boilermakers this Saturday at Bill Armstrong Stadium.
While women's soccer faltered on the road, new #1 ranked Indiana men's soccer had two Big Ten games this past week. Here's Mackenzie Salmon with how they fared against Michigan on Wednesday.
The #1 ranked IU men's soccer team got off to a quick start in their Big Ten home opener against number 18 Michigan, with Andrew Gutman scoring his third goal of the season in the 12th minute of the game. After scoring 1 goal in each of the past 2 seasons, Gutman has elevated his offensive play during his junior season as he now leads the team in goals scored through the first 6 games.
I think this summer I really focused in on keeping the ball in frame and just working hard. Last year I created a lot of offense, but it wasn't very smart offense. It was just I was using my pace. This year I feel like I'm a lot smarter with the ball. I'm sharing the ball better, and I think we're just clicking as a team.
After drawing on the road against Maryland to open up Big Ten play, the Hoosiers hope to pick up their first conference win of the season, but Michigan's Robbie Mertz had other ideas, scoring the equalizer in the 51st minute to tie the game up at 1-1.
Most of their chances were based off our mistakes. The kid made a nice cross and just a good header, but I feel still that our defense is the best in the country, and the only way they get chances is if we screw up, and they took advantage of that one screw up. So we'll learn from it. It's a long season, and we'll put our heads up and keep moving on.
Although the draw tonight wasn't the result IU was looking for, Coach Yeagley said the rain had a huge impact on tonight's performance.
A tough night with the environment. The field was super wet, which made the game, a little sloppy, I thought, at times. Kind of changed the way that we can find different ways to exploit them. They put a pretty high line early, and we just couldn't get behind that because every time we tried to find that ball, it just find its way to the keeper out of play. So kind of jammed the field a little bit. Passing was difficult at times to find some rhythm. But with that said, I look at the first half, and we were so close on so many occasions to breaking them, and it didn't result in a shot necessarily, but it was a very dangerous scenario. And clearly, I thought we were the most dangerous team on the field tonight.
The draw moves the Hoosiers to 4-0-2 on the season and still looking for that first Big Ten win as they travel to Northwestern on Sunday. For Our Indiana, I'm Mackenzie Salmon.
IU men's soccer remains without a loss this season after their victory on Sunday. The #1 ranked team in the nation traveled to Evanston, where they blanked Northwestern 2-0. The Hoosiers began their scoring just 10 minutes into the contest when freshman forward Mason Toy netted his 3rd goal of the season off of assists by Corey Thomas and Trevor Swartz. It wouldn't be until the 64th minute of the game when IU would tally its 2nd goal. It was a bit of a role reversal this time around, as Corey Thomas was the one putting the ball in the back of the net and was assisted by who else but Mason Toy. This notched the Hoosiers' first win in conference play and look to notch their 2nd this Friday at home at 7:30 against Rutgers.
Coming up next, we fill you in on what IU athletic events are happening later this week.
And Our Indiana's Zain Pyarali discusses IU basketball recruiting with Teddy Bailey and Josh Margolis. We'll be back with Our Indiana.
I wouldn't be here if it weren't for Indiana University.
Welcome back to Our Indiana. I'm Alex Emoff.
And I'm Dan Black. IU men's basketball coach Archie Miller has been on a roll recruiting since taking over in March. Zain Pyarali has more on Coach Miller and his recruiting success now on Cream vs. Crimson.
Welcome to Cream v. Crimson, a segment on this show where we go in depth on some of the hot topics surrounding IU athletics. My name is Zain, Pyarali, and today we're talking IU basketball recruiting with Teddy Bailey from the Indy Star and Josh Margolis from Inside the Hall. Last Monday, IU picked up the fourth member of its 2018 recruiting class with three-star forward Jake Forrester coming to the Hoosiers. Teddy, Forrester planned to visit a couple of different schools after his official visit to Indiana, but instead he went with the Hoosiers just 3 days after visiting here. How did that unfold, and how did Jake become a Hoosier?
Right. Well, as you said, Zain, it's kind of been a long process. He had an offer before Archie Miller was hired, and then new assistant coach Bruiser Flint, who coached Drexel in Philadelphia for a long time there, called Jake to say that the offer was confirmed and Indiana still wanted him. And like you said, he set up official visits. Didn't take all of them, and I think he saw Indiana was his biggest offer in terms of program, and Indiana being a high major program, and confirmed what he thought about Indiana, and became the next member of Archie Miller's 2018 class.
Yeah, and Josh, you're big on the recruiting game. What do you know about Forrester? What can you tell us, and what should IU fans be looking for in Jake in 2018?
Well, Forrester, like many of the other recruits Indiana's pulled in since Archie Miller took over, a big body, 6'8" or so, just versatile, can play multiple positions, really good defender. In the EYBL, averaged over a block a game. Shooting, like Teddy said, still probably needs some work, but shot over 50%, limited sample size. Indiana sees him as a role player, possibly as a freshman even, coming in, even though he's not, maybe that top 100 4- or 5-star guy that Indiana fans are really craving for.
Yeah, absolutely. And Teddy, I know you've seen him play in person, and it was at a younger age. How has he matured kind of going in, and now he's a senior coming into college?
Yeah, this is his third high school. So far he reclassified, so he's going as a senior right now at Westtown, one of the best prep programs in the country. This is his 5th year of high school. Last year he played with some of the best players in the country. Mo Bamba, who's going to be a freshman at Texas, Cam Reddish, who committed to Duke a couple weeks ago, and also Brandon Randolph, who's going to start his freshman year at Arizona this season. So he's never really been the best player on his team. Kind of have to go back to his freshman and sophomore seasons at a public school on the other side of the state to kind of go back to the last time that he was the star. So a role player, that's an accurate portrayal of what he's used to being. I think he certainly has potential. He's polished his shot, and he's a kid that can run up and down the floor with anyone in the country, and jump out of the gym. So high motor kid that Indiana fans love their athleticism, and they got that with OG Anunoby. So not doing any comparisons there, but definitely a bright future for Jake Forrester, and it's just a solid build. You look at Archie Miller's first class, and there's a lot of wings, but you can never go wrong with having too many 6'5", 6'7", 6'8" players. So a lot of athleticism in this class, and there's only one spot left. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, you're right. IU only has one scholarship left to offer in the class 18. The number 5 player in the class still out there, Romeo Langford from New Albany, Indiana. Do we think Romeo will be a Hoosier at the end of the day? I know it's still a while to come in his recruitment, and if he's not the guy that fills that last spot, who will be the guy, Josh?
I think it's honestly Romeo or bust, and if they don't get Romeo, it's not the end of the world, IU fans. There's a lot of really good 2019 guys on that Indiana's offered and that are looking hard at coming here. Trendon Watford, Matthew Hurt, Trace Jackson Davis, the list goes on and on. Indiana could very well save another scholarship for 2019. They've already got a bunch of guys in 2018 and work towards that future.
Yeah, it's funny, looking now at Archie Miller's roster compared to Tom Crean's, and I know there's still, some layover there. But when Crean was the head coach here, we always worried about not having enough scholarships, and now if Romeo, chooses to go to Louisville or wherever he goes, now we might have an extra one, and that's not necessarily the worst thing in the world. That's where you could get a grad transfer, a regular transfer, and there might be a need for a big guy, a center for Archie Miller's team down the road. So it's not the end of the world, like you said, if they miss out on Romeo Langford. And there's definitely some options that they can play with, and having some room might not be the end of the world. Also, you don't know, they might have more than one depending on what happens this year. Maybe Juwan Morgan breaks out or Teron Davis breaks out. Who knows? Someone transfers. So scholarships are really hard to predict, but having an extra spot, not the worst thing.
Yeah, and I know we still have a while on this one, but Trendon Watford, little brother of Christian Watford, who played at IU, the famous watch out against Kentucky, he took his official visit to IU this past weekend. What's the chance of Indiana landing him? I know Alabama's pretty high on that. He's from Alabama, but I mean, you have to think Indiana has a shot.
Yeah, they definitely have a shot. I mean, there's a lot of SEC schools, he's from the South, a lot of SEC schools are kind of looking at him and have been on him for a while. It was interesting to see, there's been he visited this past weekend at some, volleyball games and stuff. It was interesting to see what his parents and what his dad had to say and how excited Christian Watford was that, his little brother finally got to visit Indiana, and kind of felt like he was a little neglected and a lower priority, for the Crean administration, I guess you could say. I mean, granted, he's a 2019 player, so when Crean was here, it was a little far out. But you could kind of get the sense that they were impressed with, the family was impressed with Archie Miller, the family was impressed with what Indiana's done. They said it's the first time that they've seen the facilities and the renovations done to Assembly Hall. So, they definitely have a chance. He's a 2019 kid, so there's a lot of moving pieces here, and you kind of have to get through a couple hurdles and clamp down on the 2018 class. I know Romeo Langford's the top of Archie Miller's priority right now. So, yeah, definitely have a shot. It'd be cool to see another Watford for the Hoosiers, don't you think?
I think it's pretty likely. I mean, it's like you said, probably between Alabama and Indiana now. Indiana's really picked up the recruitment since Archie Miller took over the program. And Watford, just like his brothers, hit some big shots. I was at an EYBL game in LA. They actually needed, it turns out, to win the game to qualify for Peach Jam. He hits a 3 at the buzzer, just like his brother. A little different situation, not the same play call, but he said, he felt that it was going in before he even shot it. So he's got that sort of confidence you love to see.
All right, that's great to hear. Well, thanks, guys, for joining us today on Cream v. Crimson. That's all the time we have for this segment. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Ann.
That's almost it for our show today. But before we go, let's fast forward to the week ahead with Spencer Davis.
Thanks, guys. Seasons may have just started, but a number of Indiana Hoosier teams are wasting no time getting into midseason form. The volleyball team will open the Big Ten portion of its schedule with a Wednesday night matchup at University Gym against the University of Illinois. The Hoosiers dominated their non-conference opponents, starting off 10-0 before losing to Stanford on Saturday. They rebounded, however, with a win over Florida Gulf Coast later that day to move to 11-1 on the young season. Both the men's and women's cross-country teams will be traveling to Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts later this week, as Boston College is hosting the coast-to-coast battle in Beantown on Friday. Watch for Grace Walther to improve upon last week's 6th-place finish at the Indiana Intercollegiate Big State Race. The Indiana field hockey team carries its 5-3 record into its first Big Ten road game of the year, as the Hoosiers will be taking on Rutgers in Piscataway, New Jersey on Friday. The Rutgers men's soccer team, however, will be in Bloomington Friday to play the top-ranked Hoosiers. IU is yet to drop a game this season, accruing a 5-0-2 record thus far and gaining the respect of the United Soccer coaches, who ranked the team #1 in the country in last week's poll. And after last week's game got canceled due to the effects of Hurricane Irma, Indiana football seeks to move above 500 on the season when it hosts Georgia Southern at 3:30 on Saturday. I'll be watching out for how head coach Tom Allen situationally utilizes quarterbacks Richard Lago and Peyton Ramsey, and you should too. And of course, if you miss any of this week's action, you can find it all on iuhoosiers.com. That's all I have for you guys this week, and back to the desk.
Thanks, Spencer. Well, that's all for today, but be sure to tune in next week for more coverage of IU sports.
And thank you for watching tonight's episode of Our Indiana.